Hello and welcome back. Today I am going to be taking you through the fragrances that I purchased in Europe. So in a way, it's a bit of a fragrance haul, if you like. I don't do these very often because I don't like to do big hauls of perfume. And in fact, I try my hardest not to buy perfume, even when I really love it. But I thought I might try and make it a little bit more interesting for you than just a talking head and showing you bottles. So I decided I might make this a voiceover video where I show you some footage and just giving you a running commentary of where we went, the things we saw, that sort of thing, and embedding the perfumes as part of that story. So I hope you enjoy. Bear in mind that some of the footage and some of the photos I took on my phone in portrait mode. So you may get some full screen visuals and then there may be some vertical visuals as well. And I apologize, that wasn't something I thought about at the time when I was taking all these photos and videos and things on the journey. Anyway, hopefully it's not too annoying for you to watch. I will try to give you a bit of a feel for how these fragrances smell, but I will provide more detailed commentary on them in future. Please enjoy.
Our journey begins in Florence. Actually, technically it started in Bologna, but we were only there for one night, and after 24 hours of travel, we really only had time for sleep and dinner before hopping on a train to Florence the next morning. The fresh produce in Bologna, though, was incredible. So many amazing food smells. I was simply in heaven and couldn't wait to get back there. In Florence, number one priority was to meet up with my friend Petra from Instagram and head over to a perfume distribution exhibition called Fragrance. It was a wonderful few days. I met several perfumers and brands and loved learning about their journeys. Sadly, my nose was not really working due to a cold, so I couldn't really smell anything, but it was a very rich experience anyway. As it turns out, a perfumery opened right next door to the hotel we were staying at while we were there. So we popped into Parfumade late in the day on our way back from the exhibition. And although she must have been exhausted after a long and busy first day of opening, the lovely Alba talked us through all of her fragrances. My favourite that I could smell at the time was Stygia, a wonderfully brisk green fragrance that has a soft, musky, oracey base. Very aromatic and uplifting, and I absolutely love it. I immediately purchased a travel size from her, but upon Matt mentioning that we were getting married the following week, Alba also generously gifted me a travel size of her beautiful tuberose fragrance, Hydra. I couldn't smell Hydra at the time, but I definitely wore it later in the trip, and I look forward to getting some good wear out of it this summer. I think it'll bloom beautifully on the skin in the heat. It has a natural tuberose absolute in it. There were many perfumeries on my wish list to visit in Florence, but unfortunately they were not open on the day that we had the availability to go. I did, however, get to visit Santa Maria Novella, the original store and dispensary that is tucked behind the Santa Maria Novella Basilica. It was absolutely fascinating, actually, and dating back to the 1500s, they still have some of the original glassware and distillation equipment on display. It's incredible. This was like stepping into another world, and it was so beautiful, and I can only imagine it smelled amazing. I already knew I wanted to make a purchase here, and I very quickly tracked down a 50ml bottle of Lyri. We can only get 100ml bottles in Australia, so I was keen to use the opportunity to get the smaller size, and also I noticed that the bottles in the Santa Maria Novella boutique were a lot more decorative than the ones we get here in Australia. Then we were stepping onto another plane to head to Marseille, where I did not buy a perfume, but I did get to explore the pride and joy of the region, which is soap. From Marseille, we headed up to the villa near Ile-sur-le-Sorgue where we got married. We were there for a week and spent our time exploring many little towns in southern France, But to be honest, there was much more eating and rosé sipping than perfume smelling going on at this point. I wanted to respect the fact that this was a holiday for Matt and the others who had joined us there, and not just a perfume road trip for me. From the villa, we made our way to Grasse, where we stayed near the city centre, which is where I thought I would have had the best chance of smelling most things. I thought about contacting some perfumers and brands a couple of months in advance to see if we could visit them, but knowing that by this stage we would have been on our honeymoon, I thought better of it. In Grasse, we did a perfume making workshop at Gallimard. I was in a panic the morning of because I woke up and couldn't smell a single thing, not even my morning coffee. My nose did regain some function by lunchtime, thankfully, as our class was in the afternoon. I could kind of smell what I made. I have not smelled it yet. I thought I would leave that for another video. I did buy a parfum travel kit from Gallimard though, and a bottle of fragrance called Amber Iris. We visited Fragonard, and again I bought a travel pack because I was not trusting my nose to buy a bottle of anything at this point. We stumbled across 1,000 Flowers, founded by Canadian perfumer Jessica Buchanan. I purchased 3 travel sizes from her. Finally, late on the last day of our time in Grasse, I stepped into a little boutique called Eau de Grasse. Here I purchased their simply named No. 1 perfume. Something in this resonated with me and brought back a familiar feeling. It's a woody, earthy floral with aromatic nuances. I find it very comforting, and I wore it exclusively for a few days after that. I just really enjoyed it. All in all, I found a lot of fragrances in Grasse to have a very similar feeling to them, mostly all very floral, very light, very romantic, very French. Then on to St. Paul de Vence, where I spied Maison Godet and instantly recognised it from some posts on Instagram. It truly was as beautiful as depicted in the photos that I had seen. Sonia Godet, the perfumer, was not there, but the boutique manager showed me each perfume and invited me to explore their full range. I didn't buy anything that day as I was mulling over the options regarding baggage and flights. We did end up buying another bag that day though, and I went back the next day to purchase 2 of the perfumes that had quickly embedded themselves into my brain. Divine Mensonge and Fleur de Reine, both white florals, but where Divine is jasmine focused, seductive and sensual, more of an evening type fragrance, Fleur de Reine is tuberose leaning with a bit of iris and woody facets. It's slightly sweeter, airy and great for daytime. I think it's very special. Thus, Fleur de Reine inadvertently became the scent of the entire trip for me. I wore it almost exclusively from that day on, except for the last day before we flew home. From St. Paul de Vence, we went down to Nice for a day, where I was unsuccessful in enticing Matt into Galeries Lafayette to see if I could get my hands on the new Guerlain Millésime Iris or any of the extracts. From there, we flew to Naples, where it was all about caprese salads, pizza, Ichnusa beer, gnocchi and red wine. A day trip to Capri had us discovering Cartusia perfumes. They were all perfect for the sunny, warm, bordering on hot weather we were experiencing there. I gravitated towards the green-leaning essence of the park, which felt very refreshing on a hot, sweaty day. I bought a little 20ml splash bottle to help freshen up. Back in Naples, we made our way up to Pompeii, and that was absolutely mind-blowing. Highly recommend to visit Pompeii if you ever get to Naples. It's utterly fascinating. Get a guided tour though, so that you can separate the facts from fiction. After Naples, we caught a train to Arezzo, picked up a car and spent a few days driving around Tuscany. The highlight for me was definitely Cortona, even more beautiful than I imagined. And no, I did not go to see Bramasole, the villa featured in Under the Tuscan Sun. It is privately owned now, and I feel a bit weird about loitering outside someone's home to take photos. But I did find its namesake wine in a local bottle shop. I didn't buy it. We absolutely adored Cortona, and we both want to go back there. We had the best meal of the entire European trip there. which also happened to be the restaurant at the base of the building where we were renting a room. The room itself was pretty cool. It was a little bit old, but it also had its own private staircase that went up to a rooftop terrace where we had a great view of the sunset and the rooftops across Cortona. The restaurant was called Locanda al Pozzo Antico, which also happens to be the name of the accommodation. Paola is the owner and chef, and you can tell she really loves to cook. After Cortona, we immersed ourselves deeper into the Tuscan countryside and stayed in a place called Castello di Tornano. Okay, so the place we're staying in Tuscany is freaking amazing. Right, there's the name of our little room. Bathroom with shower. Upstairs is the bedroom. There is a private balcony there where that window is. And look at that. The villa we stayed in was a lovely respite after busy towns and cities. We had a few days here and wished we could have stayed longer as it was such a lovely spot to relax. It was very quiet. After a few days respite, it was time to make our way back to Bologna, where I discovered the lovely Profumeria Naldi. I did walk away with Un Matin d'Orage by Annick Goutal, which to me smells like a fluffy, orangey orange blossom and vanilla with some green nuances. So the last day I wore Un Matin d'Orage and have worn it several times since being back. I really, really love it. Overall, I would say the perfumes I have the strongest holiday scent association with are Fleur de Reine, Fleur de Lolita and Un Matin d'Orage. The latter simply because it was the scent I was wearing on the last day, but Fleur de Reine I think really ended up being the scent of the holiday and the one that I have the strongest scent association with.
Thank you so much for joining me on this journey and revisiting this amazing holiday that we went on. And I really did enjoy the process of putting this all together. It really made me feel like I was reliving it in some ways. And it also helped me to remember things that I had already forgotten. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to leave this here now. Thank you again for joining me. Please do give this a like if you enjoyed it, or subscribe if you have not already. And the sound of power tools is my sign to get out of here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you.